Alright, you've got a ton of info on Bungie's new extraction shooter, Marathon. Now you're probably seeing a bunch of videos talking about the story, and this is not one of them. I'm going to be breaking down everything we know about the game itself, how it plays, when you can start playing it, its strengths, and the challenges it's going to be facing. Let's get to it. Marathon will be releasing on September 23rd, but before we get there, they'll have a closed alpha taking place this month on the 23rd. You can go to their Discord to sign up for a chance to play, but let's go over everything the game has to offer the extraction shooter space to see what you can expect. Without wasting any more time, let's get at it. Marathon has a standard extraction shooter setup. You start by building your loadout, pick a map, hit the Q button, and get dropped into the match. Try to complete contracts, loot valuables of all kinds, and try to extract while contending with other players doing the same. But what's setting Marathon apart? Well, for starters, this is the most earnest attempt at an extraction shooter by a AAA company. That comes with strengths, but it also comes with some baggage. Bungie as a studio has the ability to launch huge titles with broad appeal. That kind of push requires a lot of funds, which comes with a lot of risk. The minimum amount of success required in order to sustain a title gets much higher. Historically, extraction shooters with their harsh learning curve have had a difficult time finding that level of appeal. But Marathon has a lot that I think will make it appealing while also retaining the extraction shooter tension which is required to make it work. For starters, let's talk about the damage. Where most extraction shooters overly complicate this, Marathon finds a way to streamline it, while introducing depth in other ways. You have your basic HP bar with a shield, and like everything else in the game, the shield comes in different rarity colors we've come to expect, which directly correlates to the level of protection that you get. However, weapons are gray by default. Their rarity is upgraded by their attachments, which only affect their utility, not their damage. There's a set ammo type they use with no overly complicated ammo types to clutter up the situation. So the weapon you encounter will always do the same damage wherever you see it. There's no guessing as to what kind of ammo the enemy may or may not have. And when you hit the enemy, the color of their shield is displayed on your hit marker. It's consistent and transparent without needing to consult a third-party source. You have healing items for your HP and items to restore your shield. It's straightforward, but it's not overly simple. Marathon consumable items show us there are additional effects to consider, like EMP, hack, immobilize, overheat, and toxin. But rather than have one surgery kit for one kind of injury, a splint for another, a turret kit for another, and a juice box for ego, you don't need to have a gaggle of items in order to cover every possible effect. And there's still more depth revealing itself. The weapon, shield, backpack, core, and implants are all able to add additional effects. They can be minor stat changes, but as you start to increase the rarity, the effects become more dramatic. Some examples are on the screen, but those of you familiar with Destiny will recognize this pattern. The great thing about how it's presented is that it's easy to learn and interact with on the surface, but scales in a manner that allows you to grow as a player and start making builds beyond the starting simplicity. The weapons and how they work will have a direct counterpart to Destiny and Halo, and that's not a bad thing. You'll find the typical archetypes like SMGs and sniper rifles, and the damage levels all seem to be fine middle ground. Deadly enough to reward consistent aim and positioning, but not so fast you cannot recover from a less than perfect ambush. Friendly indicators and ping systems make it easy to communicate with your teammates even if you are queued with randoms without a mic. When your HP reaches 0, you get downed and eventually you can be killed. But so long as one of your squad is alive, you can always be revived. And if you're interrupted while rezzing, the progress is not reset. There is even an item that allows you to self-res from a down state. But even though there's a lot of forgiveness built into this game, it still retains the extraction shooter edge. There's actually no safe pocket, and when you die, you lose every bit of gear you have on you. While faction sponsored loadouts are available, losing hard-won items will still sting, and that's the point, it's supposed to. Now that I've covered some of the major gameplay systems, I'm going to briefly go over some of the less clear aspects of the game, some concerns I have, and what impact Marathon can have on the other extraction shooters in the market. But before I do that, if you've made it this far, I want to highly encourage you to hit that subscribe and notification button. I am privileged enough to be part of Bungie's creator program, which allowed me to give away alpha keys during my stream on Twitch, of which I will likely do more of. Check out the Discord as well if you're looking for more info on Marathon, as well as all the other extraction shooters coming out. Thank you for your consideration. Now back to the video. Based on the videos we've seen, everyone played on the Dire Marsh map, which devs have commented can hold up to 18 players, which is 6 teams of 3. Now I have no firm way of measuring the exact size of the map, but based on what little I am sure about, it seems awfully small for this many players. Of course, I could be wrong, but it feels like there is very little room for exploration, deliberate looting without constantly running into players. Don't get me wrong, PvP is great, but in an extraction shooter, tension is the draw. If the firefights are certain and often, it removes a level of tension that silence helps build up. Devs have also announced there will be ranked play. Now, the only reference I have to ranked mode in an extraction shooter is Arena Breakout Infinite. It was essentially the same maps as their normal modes with minimum loadout values. It also required in-game currency cost in order to play the maps with higher loot tables and harder enemies. Now, I have no reason to believe Marathon will emulate these features, but the idea of ranked mode in an extraction game always seems strange to me. If you have any ideas of how Marathon could implement it, leave it down in the comments and I'd love to hear it. The exfil mechanic seems straightforward enough, however, once the timer runs out, you don't just die. All of the evac points are closed and a single one is open to be used within the next 3 minutes. I think that's kind of an interesting take and lines up with the more casual nature of the game, adding another layer of forgiveness, but it's not for free. With all of this in mind, there are a couple of things that I am concerned about. And now when I say concerned, it's more of a passing worry since I haven't really had a chance to play it for myself. I just have enough experience to know where the potential problems may arise. For starters, the runners themselves. These are heroes, they're not classes. I don't believe anyone seriously thinks that Bungie will just stop at 6 runners. The list will grow. My concern is mainly that the abilities that were on display all seem very potent. Sure, you still have the rest of your build, but you're going to meta your team's composition based on set abilities because of how strong they are. Now, I made a video where I go into greater detail on how these issues affect extraction shooters linked above. Speaking of teams, you will only be able to queue into a trio lobby. Now, you can turn off squad fill and drop solo, but the time to kill in this game is too slow to reasonably win a 1v3, and their abilities the team has ensures they can hunt you down easily. At this point, extraction shooters need to have variable queue sizes. Too many people like playing these games solo. But the problems are again the heroes. One of the testers reported that a solo game was created during the testing, and everyone ended up picking the runner that has the stealth ability. Obviously the game was balanced for teams, so some kind of alteration needs to be made in order for a solo queue to be viable. And my last concern is that based on what I've seen, in the descriptions for faction upgrades, there are going to be seasonal wipes. I feel like this is where the extraction shooter veterans are going to defend this as just the norm, but I reject that wholly, especially when considering the objective for Marathon is to clearly create an approachable experience. I deliver an extended summary and possible solutions to the problems wipes solve in the video linked above. Okay, so finally I want to discuss briefly where I think Marathon will fit within the market and my predictions on how it will affect the rest of the space. I think Marathon, if it can launch with success, will draw a huge untapped player base into the extraction shooter space, and because of this, it will be good for other titles as well. It will be many players' gateway game into the genre. Players who originally wrote off the genre as too hardcore will become accustomed to it, and because of that, will be open to other experiences. The games in the genre that are a bit more approachable and coming out in the near future are close enough to not constitute a huge leap from Marathon. Titles like Hunt, Active Matter, and Arc Raiders are good examples. For reasons I cannot talk about, I can easily see a reason to play both Marathon and Arc Raiders. Because of this, if Marathon succeeds at bringing in the extraction shooter genre into the mainstream, this will end up helping Arc Raiders, not hurting it. And that's my take on what we've got so far. If you've made it this far, clearly I've entertained you. Hit that like, leave a comment, smash that subscribe button for future content on Marathon and other extraction shooters coming out. Thank you so much for watching, and good hunting.